you've done two things at the same time. You've lowered their threat because now they feel valuable, and at the same time, you've made your request.
And you put it back on them.
And you put it back on them, and it's your responsibility. How are we going to fix this?
Right.
How are we going to fix this, right? All right, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I want you to find a partner or a trio. And I want you to think about a challenging situation that you have. And I want you to think about what makes it challenging. Is it a scarf? What if scarf has been threatened? What's in it for them? How do you want them to feel, think, do, or feel? And how could you maybe craft one of these conversations? All right? So find a partner.
Hi, partner. You want to give me the situation? What do you do? You're blessed.
People don't want to work and they're leaving.
I'm sorry, sweet. I'm so sorry.
Opportunity after challenge. Well, I have a bad situation.
It's a constant challenge to me to get the product to you.
I'm in a situation that might not have a strategy. Bringing it to market.
And I try to tell them,
Done so.
we're the ones that have to communicate with
The question comes up.
so it's got to start from there. It's working.
So the challenge
It's slowly getting it, but
I thought this was important so that we can
professionally, you got to communicate.
The expense or cost
We're going to see.
of not developing this new business.
Like when you're on the phone, I tell people, they can see you smile. When you're not
So I
smiling,
thought you were doing marketing strategy in your spare
it's kind of
time.
like what they were saying now, where we
Meanwhile, getting all these
replay what it is that you're doing.
Dilemma.
To get the job.
I can lose myself without not being new business.
You have to work together
So why-
to get the job done.
Why give me the hat to develop the product and work with the team, the strategy and development materials,
They don't trust us.
which means the product would never come to market. So give me tasks that take away from the primary task, thinking that doing in my spare time,
Right, exactly.
and then judging me for shortcomings. Something that's really important. Instead of being, hey, spare time to me is like an hour a week, not 3 days a week.
To get the job done for the employee. When the employee comes in for the payroll issue, answer that question.
See, the one employee, my payroll person, she's very rough around the edges. Like when I first started, I wanted to fire her.
Monthly basis,
Every single day, and I looked at the history prior to becoming every single review, hardiness.
dipping.
But here's the thing. So you kind of have to.
All right, how we doing?
There's a little dip. One of the big ones
I make sure that everybody comes to me.
didn't continue to bring in money. And he's right. You know, I need to cover my costs by generating business. So don't direct me. I mean, just
Okay, let's come back because I got a lot more to share with you.
Oh, no, I know I am.
All right.
yeah.
All right, how was that? Anybody have anything they'd like to ask or share about what happened?
Yeah.
And she was saying at her company that she works with a lot of vendors, and one of the vendors was having a lot of issues, which they brought forth via email. So like that was my first red flag. I feel like a lot of times, like someone actually brought up communication stuff. especially when it's been a problem.
Yes.
It's not going to be conveyed correctly via email,
No.
ever.
Yes.
So,
Anything that deals with emotion needs to be face-to-face or voice. If it's an emotionally charged issue, do not, I mean, and I know it feels safe. It feels so much safer to do it on email because then they're not looking at me. But you're just blowing everything up and blowing it out and creating so many issues that may not have been there otherwise. Because you're not there to assuage the threat. You have no idea what state that person is in when they open that email. And so what's going to happen is all of those threats are going to come flooding into them in front of their computer, and they're like, oh, and you're not even there, so then it says, yes.
Well, I always tell people, you want to respond to something versus react.
Yeah.
Because when you react, it's negative,
Yes.
and responding is more positive. So I say, either wait a few hours or wait till the next day. Because
Yeah.
you're going to show it whether it's verbal, face-to-face, or in writing.
Yes.
And a lot of people come back and they say thank you because they
Yeah.
realize it's true.
And sometimes you need to take that deep breath and walk away and name your emotion, let the emotion go through you, and then move on. Yeah, any other takeaways from your discussions? Right, so let's move on because this is really easy to do, easy to forget to do. So we think, oh, because we've been talking for how many ever years we've been talking, and we think, oh, this is going to work, that's okay. We don't have to be careful because they know me. It doesn't work that way. Other nonverbal, loose habitual non-words. What are those? Those ums, those likes that really robs you of credibility. If you're trying to give a really important message and every other word is like or so or basically or literally, those are going to be sticking out in the person's head above everything else. Avoid minimizing words. What do I mean by that? One of the things I do is I work with the financial advisors at Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, and I do some role plays with them sometimes, and I work with them on their communication skills. And so that sometimes I'll get somebody to say, they're sitting in front of me, they're looking at a role play where I have a $1.2 million portfolio, and they say to me, I just want to give you this little agenda. I don't want a little agenda, and I don't want you to just I want you to give me an agenda. That's a whole different thing. So all those minimizing words that we think are making things safe are actually going into that monkey brain and saying, oh, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't really, oh, look at her, she knows nothing. The lizard's going, oh, I can eat her. So that's what's going on when you give those minimizing words. You're giving them the license, you're giving the lizard a license to just go crazy. Repeat the key message. We already talked about how to find your key message. Don't be afraid to repeat it. And we have somebody back here who says that she feels like she overtalks and gives too much information. We're going to deal with that later because you have to realize who it is that you're talking to. If you're talking to somebody else who loves detail and needs certainty, fine. If you're talking to somebody who doesn't, they've tuned out a long time ago, and they're getting nothing from you. Use numbers and examples for the left brain, and use analogies for the right brain. So analogies, what does this remind you of? Like giving a picture, painting a picture, because the mind remembers in pictures, and the emotional thing is a picture. So if you can paint a picture of what it is that you want to say, and that's the problem with so much communication these days. You're giving fact, 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 fact. And so our brain is all these data, 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 but what's it got to do with me? How can I interpret this? How can you now interpret it for your listener so that I can picture it, I can see it, I can touch it, I can taste it, then I can go and do it. Now, let's talk about your communication style, because what I just talked about here with this young lady is she has a definite communication style, and what I've devised is a way of interpreting a communication based on my years of acting and my years of writing through the soaps and whatever. We have to realize that we're different from other people, and that's part of the problem. When I ask about the frustrations, so many of those frustrations are born on the fact that I know how I like to be communicated to, so why don't they understand me? It's because that's not how they want to be be communicated to. Because it's like saying, I speak English, why does that Greek person not understand me? I know what I'm saying. It's because they speak Greek and they don't understand your English. So that's what we want to think about when we're thinking about communication skills. And so in my book, I have 9 different character types that I've born from years in this acting world, in this writing world. You can take my quiz, but here are the 4 major actor types. You've got the hero, which is that charismatic, powerful, walk in a room and they take the room by storm. That's your hero. And you think everybody wants to be a hero. But it's not true. Because some people are heroes and some people are not. And I have a card that you can say later. Now you've also got your buddy, who's everybody's best friend. And you want to be friends, and that they're triggered by relatedness. Heroes are triggered by what? Status. And so what you want to think about is who are you and what kind of thing is triggering you and who are the people that you interact with the most. Then we have those whiz kids, the whiz kids that are data and fact-based. So if you're talking to a whiz kid, you've got to give them the facts, you've got to give them the specific details. You've got to do that. But if a whiz kid is talking to a hero and they give all that detail, the hero is like, just come on. I don't want to hear that. I just need to know what you're going to do. I just want to know what you're going to do. And then we've got our superhero. And the difference between the superheroes, like you've all seen those superheroes, like Wonder Woman. Remember, how many of you saw Wonder Woman? You know, she doesn't understand why everybody's not fighting all the time. You know, it's like, well, you know, she goes and is like, well, that's not fair. I'm going to go do something about it. And there are superheroes at work. There are superheroes in life. They just want to go and do something about things. They don't care. You know, one of the analogies I like is like they go into a burning building with this big fire hose, and someone's just lighting a candle. You know, but they want to put it out. They don't know that it's just a candle. They feel like it's a fire. And so superheroes, you have to be careful. And the buddies, like everybody's my friend, so it's difficult for me to give feedback. Then we've got our 5 other ones. You have the comic. Everything is always funny. We've got a supermodel, and we've got an ingenue. Ingenue is very innocent, sweet, loving, optimistic. That's a big trait of the ingenue. And then you've got our curmudgeon. Curmudgeon is like, I've done this, been there, done that, I don't care. How many of you work with curmudgeons? How many of you are curmudgeons? Yeah, okay, we've got a self-proclaimed curmudgeon, and she's proud of it.
I'm on
Then we've got our villain. Our villain is a great actor type. You know, a villain can be that witty, dry, like, what's up with you? But sometimes they can be extremely charismatic. You know, they're very charismatic leaders. And those are the things that you want to look out for in your own self and in the people that you work with. I have these cards that has all the actor types on them that you can identify who it is that you are as you go about your business. And I want you for the cocktail party, it's like you take this card and then you go around and you say, villain. Marty, what are you?
Oh, gee. I like the buddy kind of thing.
Yeah. So the buddy kind of thing. Yeah. How many of you are buddies? Yeah. HR is a buddy type of a position. You know, you got to be friends with a lot of people. But you know what? You don't have to, I mean, of course, we're always a combination of everything. But also in HR, this is what you really need to be. You need to be a superstar. You need to be a superstar. And if you look at this picture, what do you notice about this picture? This is all Meryl Streep. This is all Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep can be a curmudgeon. Meryl Streep can be a villain. Meryl Streep is a natural buddy, and she can be a whiz kid or a hero, and she can be a supermodel. So your goal, especially in a position like this in HR or as a position as a leader, is to be able to say, what does it call for here? Does this need a little bit of a hero coming out? Does this need a little bit of a villain coming out? So especially that buddy and the ingenue actor type, if you're going into a situation and this person is giving you dead-on villain, you can't be a buddy, you'll get eaten alive. You need to start bringing out some of that that villain part of you. Yes, somebody had a question? So those are some of the things that you want to look out for. And how do you do that? Yes?
When you're doing that, though, aren't you bringing out the lizard?
What, being the villain?
Yeah.
You can, no. What you want to do the villain in a way that, if you're talking to a villain, you do the villain in a way that the villain will understand it. So a villain does not mean, I'm going to snap your head off. A villain is, and sometimes your villain is merely, and we're going to talk quickly about that too, sometimes it is, especially for women, just lowering that voice, cutting half of your vocabulary out, and minimizing your gestures. You know, so you know, it's like, oh, I'm usually like this, hi, how are you? It's so great. She snaps back at you, and then it's like, you know, I really don't appreciate that. I really do not appreciate the way that you just responded to me. All right, I'm not yelling at her. I'm not insulting her. I'm not telling her that she's wrong. I'm expressing my feelings in a villainous way. So that's the beauty of being able to morph or shift from actor type to be effective. And a lot of times people think, oh, but this is who I am. It's not an excuse. Knowing what type you are is not an excuse. It's an opportunity for you to know yourself better, to know how you relate to people better, and then to shift to be more effective. Just like, it's like, I'm really comfortable in my pajamas, but you notice I did not wear them here today. You know, because it would not have been effective. Just like I'm comfortable being a buddy, but if it's not effective, what's the point? So find out what's effective and use that. And it's not acting, it's just being. So nonverbals matter so much. How many people know that? I mean, you can say the same thing a million different times, and sometimes it gets through, and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on your tone. The tone of your voice, your body language. And my favorite quote, I can't pass up with that. What you do speaks so loud, I cannot hear what you say. And that's what happens because the lizard brain has been attacked, and they literally can't hear what you have to say because you're doing something that's getting in the way. Whether it's your body language or your vocal tone, it's like, oh, I can't hear you. And how many times have you been at meetings and somebody will say something, you'll say something, and then somebody else says something, the exact same thing.
There's a really great saying, I'm not sure who said it, but people won't remember the words you say, but they'll remember
How you make them feel. Yeah, and usually people say that in the feel-good, gushy way, but it's also in the other way, too. They'll remember how you made them feel bad. So they will not remember your words. Exactly. So nonverbal signals have 5 times as much impact as the verbals. 60 to 90% of your message. Body language counts for 60 to 80% in negotiations. So just the way that you're standing. It takes 2 to 7 seconds to make a first impression. And this last stat is the scariest of all. It can take up to 17 visits to undo a negative first impression, which is a lot of visits, and it's actually a moot point because you're not going to give people 17 times. Most people, you just don't give them 17 times to re-impress you. So that's a really, really difficult thing to get over. So what can you do? You want to make eye contact. You want to have a strong handshake. You want to stand in your power. This is your power stance. If you're talking to somebody at the networking tonight, stand in your power. Not like this. Not like this. Not like this with the ankles crossed. You have no power here. You have no gravitas. You have no center. Stand in your power. And what does this do? It's not just that you're hiding or whatever. We all have those interpretations. But also you're covering up the most vulnerable part of your body, which is your torso. And when your torso is being seen, people trust you more. So when you're doing this, there's a barrier between you and your listener, and therefore they're not trusting you as much. Leaning forward, hands on the table. Again, we need to see your hands. It makes us trust you more. Arms and legs uncrossed, because not only what it does is it cuts off the flow of your own energy. So you're taking in information differently when you have things crossed. It's not just what we see, it's what you're feeling. You're going to be less engaged and you're going to take in less information when you have something crossed. It's just the way that the brain works somatically with the body. Now, this one, avoid sitting, when you're giving feedback, if it's negative or positive, avoid sitting directly opposite somebody, because what it does is it sets up this competition thing and competitive. And so now we are somewhere brain science-wise battling each other. But if I were to turn like this, there's this openness, I'm not battling. Right? So that's something that you want to think about when you're just talking to somebody in your office. If there's a barrier there, if you're right directly across from them, see what you can do to fix that. Gestures are important too. It grabs your attention. It makes people feel like they're involved here. Now these planes are really interesting. Somatically, again, if I speak from here, I have more energy and more passion. If I speak from here, I have a slower energy and I am more trusted. And so this is the gesturing. This is a different gesturing. This is not a gesturing. The grotesque plane should be avoided at all costs. Don't want that. And then, of course, the voice. We're running out of time, but I really think that the voice is one of the most important parts of getting respect. And so many times we neglect that. We neglect by not using our diaphragm muscle. We speak from our vocal folds, which makes it a higher pitched. We want to use our diaphragm. That gives us resonance and strength and power and command. We want to energize our phone voices. So you want to lose these habits. Up speaking. Everything sounding like a question?
Oh, yeah.
Terrible. Lose it. No one's going to trust you. No one's going to take you seriously. Drop speaking. Men do this a lot. Everybody just like, everything is really, really, really important. And then at the end, and then it's really important. And nobody knows what you can hear what you're saying. Whatevering is a tone that happens in offices all the time, and I would love to be the champion of getting rid of that. Whatevering goes like this, that you stand up in a meeting to talk, and you say, yeah, my name is Robyn Hatcher, and our department is doing this, and it's really, really great, and everything sounds like a sing-song, and it sounds like whatever, and it sounds like you're not really going to be interested in what I have to say, and nobody's really going to care, because it's really kind of boring. And that's what it sounds like at a meeting. And so why are people falling asleep at meetings? So what you want, and then the next person stands up, and then they say, oh, that person just sounded like a whatever, so let me do the same thing. Because I want to be in that same tribe. I don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. So I'm going to sound like that person sounds. And then you've got all these people, whatevering, and it's like nobody has any passion or energy. Monotone, we all know that. Vocal fry, I'm not even going to go there because it's just so horrible. And then what we have to do is know that know-it-all tone, sounding like a kindergarten teacher. That is going to be a really hard thing for people to listen to. So what are you going to do? What is one thing that you would like to do? Because we are what we repeatedly do. What is one thing that you would like to change going forward about the way that you communicate? The one takeaway. And I have those surveys in the back. I would love, love, love for you to fill out that survey and hand it back. And what it is like if you have any referrals, any speaking referrals for me, if you would like me to come to your company and give a presentation or a training, please fill that out and give it back to me. And of course, fill out the survey on and I'll stay for questions for anybody who'd like them. But in summary, this is what you need to do. What are you going to do? And that's a serious question. What are you going to do? Yes?
No more buts.
I'm sorry, no more buts. No more buts. Okay. Great, 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 great. It's hard, but challenging. Do it. Yes? Yeah, anybody else? What are you going to do?
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath before you give feedback. Yes.
Not always be the buddy.
You're not always be the buddy. Yes. I give you permission. Buddyless. Yes.
I fall into the trap of the sing-song.
I'm sorry?
I fall into the trap of the
Oh,
sing-song.
you fall into the whatever, Toad. She's going to clean that up. Just when I work with people personally and at longer trainings, I have exercises for you to do to get rid of that sing-song thing, like using a film script. Anybody else have something? Yes, what are you going to do?
Analyze the scar from my key
Yes.
stakeholder.
Yes,
So that I can-
excellent, excellent. He's going to analyze the scar. What are they threatened by? And then you can learn how to craft your communication to minimize those threats. Excellent. Anybody else have something they're going to do? You're going to fill out the survey, right? So thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure. They thank you too. Look how happy they are that you're here. And if you want an actor type card, please take one. And please, you get a card if you fill out the survey. My new thing. You did? Okay. No, I will. Okay.
Okay, how do I?
And the other survey too. Great, thank you. Thank you so much.
What company do you work for?
Oh,